In this lesson, we're going to explain how to use the script task. Using the .NET framework, the script task can perform many functions. It's used when there's no native SSIS task that can perform the needed functions. It can also use package variables and connections, also from the connection manager. Here inside of Visual Studio, I'll drag out a script task. I'll right click and go to Edit to open the script task. And in the drop down menu, I have two choices for languages, either Visual Basic or Visual C#. I'm going to use Visual Basic in all my demonstrations here, but you can select C# if you prefer. The default is C#. If you'd like to change that default, you can go to Tools, Options, check the box below. It says Show All Settings, and under Business Intelligence Designers, Integration Services Designers, and General, you'll see the language option here. And I've got mine set to Visual Basic now. We'll go back to the script task, right click and go to Edit. Our entry point is main. I'm going to leave that at main. And below that we have variables that we can set in. They can be read-only variables or read-write variables. I'm going to go ahead and create a variable on this package. We'll right click, go to Variables, and I'll create it. It'll be called String File Name. And I'll set it to be a string type variable. And the value is going to be c:/test.text. I'm going to leave it at that value because I have a file on my C drive with that name that I created earlier. Let's go back, right click and go to Edit. And in the read-only variables, I'm going to select that variable now. I click on the ellipse, scroll down and find that variable. Then I click on Edit Script below. And we'll scroll down. Here we see the main subroutine. And we're going to add our code where it says add your code here. So to pull the variable from the package, we have to type in DTS dot, and IntelliSense gives us the properties of the DTS object. Variables is one of those. We'll select Variables. And we have to put in the file name literally. And then another value at the end of that. So we have DTS.variables, then the literal variable name, dot value. And this will give us the value of that variable. Keep in mind that the variable name here is case sensitive. I'm going to create a message box that will pop up the value of this variable. So I just type in message box, MSG box, and put parentheses around it like so. Now we should get a message box popping up showing us the value of that variable. We'll save this and close it. Click OK. And we'll run it one time to see if we get a pop-up. And there we get a pop-up, and it shows the value of the variable. We'll stop debugging. A common task is to check to see if a file exists with a script task. To do that, I'm going to create another variable. This time I'll create a Boolean variable. We'll call it bol file exist. And we'll default it to false. I'll go back to my script task, right click and go to Edit. In the read-write variables, I'll now put that file exist variable because I want to be able to write to that variable. I want to be able to change the value to true if the file exists and leave it at false if it doesn't exist. I'm still going to use the file name variable as a read-only variable. Let's go back to Edit Scripts now. I'm going to remove the message box by just deleting the beginning and ending parentheses. I'm also going to import a reference. We go to the top right up under my last import, and I'll just say system.io. That will give us the file properties of that object. And now I'm going to say if file dot, and one of the properties here is exist. It's a function of that. And we need the path as a string, which is the value of the variable. And I'm going to change the value of my variable. This time it's going to be the file exists variable. And we'll set it equal to true if it does exist. And then just for good measure, I'll put an else in here. So it doesn't exist, it'll be set to false. So now, if the file exists, it will set the variable of file exists to true. Else, it will set the value to false. We'll save this, close this, hit OK. Now, this is checking to see if the file exists, and I'll even put that in as the name. It will check for the file existence. After we've checked for the file existence, if the file does exist, we want to go down one path. If it doesn't exist, we want to go down a different path. Now I'll drag out 2 more script tasks. These will represent the logic that will be after we've determined whether the file exists or not. These could be data flows or any other task. I'll call this one file exists, and I'll call this one does not exist. And we can drag 2 green lines, which are precedence constraints, from the script task. We'll double click on the first one and we'll change it to an expression and constraint, and we'll say at bol file exist, and if it's equal to true, I'll test that, make sure it's good, and we'll go this way to file exist. The other one, we'll do the same thing, but we'll say at bol file exist equal to false. Test that. Now if it's equal to true, it will go to the file exist. If it's not equal to true, then we'll go to the does not exist. Now the value of the variable is the c:/test.txt. I have that file on my computer in the C drive. So when I run this, it should go to the file exist. Let's run it and see what happens. And it goes to file exist. We'll stop this. I'll go to my C drive, and now I'm going to go ahead and delete that file. There's test.txt. I'll right click on it, go delete. And now I'll run the package again, and we'll see it goes to does not exist. In the try it section of this lesson, we're going to create a script task that will open a message box that will show the variables, and we'll change the value of those variables. Here I've got a package named Lesson9. I'm just going to drag out a script task. I'm also going to right click and go to variables and create a variable. We'll call this one strvar, just for something simple. And we'll set the type to a string. And we'll create another variable. This will be an integer variable, and we'll call it int_var. And we'll set the value of the variable to 5. We're leaving the value of our string variable to blank. In the script task that I drug over, I'm going to right click and go to edit, or you can double click on it to open it. Make sure my language is set to VB. I'm going to click on the read write variables, and I'm going to select the variable of str variable and the int variable, and click OK. We'll click on edit script now. We'll maximize this, scroll down where it says add your code here, and here we'll type in some VB code. We're going to check to see what the value of the variable is. So we'll say if dts.variables, and we'll say int var dot value, and we'll say if it's greater than 10. Then and we'll change the value of the other variable. And we'll make it equal to big. We'll say else. So the value is not greater than 10. We'll change the value to, and we do again strvar dot value, and we'll set it equal to small. So now if the value of the int variable is greater than 10, it will be set to big, else it will be set to small. One last thing I want to do is I'm going to add a message box below, and I just want to pop up the value of that string variable. So we'll do dts dot variables, and we'll use that str variable again. This should give us a pop-up box showing us the value of that string variable. We'll save this and close it. Click OK. Remember, the value of our variable is at a 5 right now. So let's debug the package and see what our pop-up says. It says small. And this is because our value of our variable is less than 10. So I'll change the value of the variable to something greater than 10, say 11. And we'll run the package one more time. And now the value of the variable is big. So you see how we can change the value of variables, and we can check the value of variables with if-then statements to make complex decisions using script task. In this lesson we showed you how to use the script task in the control flow of a package. Remember, the script task uses the .NET framework. You can use it when there's no native SSIS task that can perform your needed functions, and you can alter package variables and connections with the script task.